Expect consequences from Capitol Hill for universities which fail to protect their students. Chad Pergram explains.
Republican lawmakers believe the federal government is slow to probe probable civil rights violations on campus. The GOP demands action.
Do you think right now that this administration is upholding Title VI?
We are. With the resources that we have, we're here to request additional investigators. In 2009, the number of cases has tripled since 2009, and we have 58 less people in.
Miguel Cardona asked for an additional $22 million in this spending cycle to hire more investigators and open up additional probes. Expect that to be a flashpoint, especially after Republicans aim to trim funding for the Department of Education.
The Republicans tried to cut it by 25% with FY24 budget, and the result was flat funding.
The GOP also wants to slash funding for universities which members believe failed to protect Jewish students.
If you're going to break the law and violate Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, you're going to have your federal funds removed.
Universities receive more money from the federal government than from any other source. That's why the GOP is ready to curb funds bound for higher ed, as lawmakers prep spending bills for the fall.
And so we're taking a look at how to condition that money on how they handle their campuses in situations like this.
Democrats are torn about the demonstrations ravaging college campuses. They're mindful of First Amendment rights and concern over human rights.
Students are students, and you're going to have demonstrations, and that's just part of being a college student.
But there's a schism among Democrats over the Middle East, and that divide threatens to shred the Democrats' coalition ahead of the election. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Talks in Cairo intensifying as negotiators try to push a ceasefire agreement over the finish line between Israel and Hamas. At least 3 people were killed overnight in strikes on the southern edge of the Gaza Strip. Israel saying deal or no deal, it still plans to send the IDF into Rafah. Tom Sufi Burridge has more from Israel.
Tonight, with Gaza ceasefire talks intensifying in Cairo, Israel indicating it will not accept any hostage deal which would end the war. Hamas studying a proposal which would see an initial 6-week pause in the fighting. In a statement, Hamas saying it is considering the Israeli proposal in a, quote, positive spirit, but adding the group is pushing for a definitive end to the war. People rallying tonight in Tel Aviv, calling for a ceasefire.
Well, there's frustration, there's anger on the streets of Tel Aviv. This is the movement pressuring the Israeli government to get a deal to get the hostages home. But a deal also depends on Hamas.
CIA Director Bill Burns in the Egyptian capital, with the Israeli government reiterating it will launch an invasion into Rafah in southern Gaza, where more than 1 million Palestinians are sheltering, with or without a deal. In the meantime, strikes continuing in Rafah, first responders rescuing 2 children from the rubble. 35-year-old Sagi Dechelchen, one of 5 Americans thought to be still held by Hamas. His father Jonathan telling us if there isn't a deal now, he believes invading Rafah may be necessary to free the hostages.
If Hamas cannot get to yes right now, I am quite certain, and I fear that very different steps are going to have to be taken in order to get our hostages home. That will bring more misery in the short term.
And Israel hitting back at the Biden administration's opposition to an invasion of Rafah. A senior Israeli official telling me Israel will make its own decision. Tom Sufi Burridge, ABC News, Tel Aviv.